Banners when the dude's head exploded.
Definitely worth waiting for, wasn't it?
I'll take
Nailed
that.
it once again, guys. I don't know how we keep on doing it week after week.
I know. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Let's Drone Out. Tonight we are joined by everyone's favourite Curry Kitten.
Hello.
Our Lord and Master Andrew / Frank.
Hello.
The man who said BR Helly's gonna die, AM32 for the win. Called it. Stephen.
Cheers. All right.
And my buddy Cole, probably the only one who's done some flying. Because he doesn't live here.
Not true. I managed to go out as well.
Squishy out there.
Me.
Well, you've got your own field, which apparently is mud-free, or you just don't mind getting things muddy. It's very squishy. Right?
Well, it was quite wet. Yes, no one was invited to come with me.
No one's allowed. A special curry field.
A special field. It's not my field.
What were you flying?
What did you fly?
Well, it's what I didn't fly as well. I took the wing out again that I explained I had the problem with last time, where it decided it was going to delete the configuration completely and put the configuration back. This time, after I set everything up, I had two problems. First off, it looks like it was ready to arm, still working, the servo still moved, and it said pitch and roll, not 0. I was like, what? What are you on about? No one's touching the joystick. It's fine. And I couldn't make it work, and it decided it wasn't going to arm. So I was like, oh, that's annoying. And also, the HDMI into my goggles was a bit dodgy, hit and miss. I put them on, and it's sort of like, oh, that's nice. And it suddenly went completely green. I was like, oh, twiddle, twiddle, twiddle. And it's okay again, leading me to sort of slightly rant about why is HDMI so crap when you plug it in and hang it down. But I also flew my 7-inch quad to try going a little bit more distance, which was interesting because I learned something about Express LRS and if you use dynamic power, how that works, and exactly how much space you've got if you start getting worried. Because personally, for me, I was like, oh, it's at minus 95 dBm. That's quite high. I don't like that. I want to turn around. But that's not necessarily the case. And I was confused because I was going out to about a kilometre and a half, and I was on 868 dynamic power, and it's on 10 milliwatts. And it gets to minus 97, and I'm like, oh, this makes me nervous. And I turn around and come back and then set it on like normal power and go to sort of what I thought was 3K, which was actually 2.85K because I was looking at the wrong display. But then that was okay because I wasn't on dynamic power. So I did some checking into this, and I found several interesting things. The first is about exactly how far you should be able to go before you actually start to panic about your dBm value, and the fact that it's like on a logarithmic scale. So okay, so you could go in theory, what I'm flying could go to minus 112 before it fails, and you can say, okay, let's be safe, let's call it 102 to save 10. But I saw some footage, and it's like some guy went to like 3.5K and it's at minus 100. And when he got to 5.5K, it was still at 100. And it's only when he went to minus 6 that it got to like minus 102 or something. It's like, I'm being overly conservative about my power here. And because the power works on a signal to noise ratio about when it ups the power, it's not necessarily set about how bad your RSSI value is. So you basically just suck it up and carry on and see what happens is the best way of doing it. If it starts getting like minus 105, say, it's like, okay, this is bad, let's turn around, because on that turnaround it's probably going to get worse. But yeah, I thought it was quite interesting, and the fact you can go like 2K extra and your signal doesn't degrade any further because the way the scale of dBm RSSI works, I thought that's interesting. So that was an interesting learning experience for me.
That is interesting. Because
Yeah.
I've only ever used the link quality, and I just put
Same.
the power at whatever I'm going to put the power at, dynamic or otherwise, and I just wait till link quality goes down below 60 and then start worrying. Like if LQ is over 60, basically okay. If I'm freestyling,
I mean,
try and keep the LQ above 90, but otherwise,
it's interesting, isn't it? Because they're telling you different things, which I think is always useful to have both. Of course, you could have an amazing quality signal if you look at the DBM RSSI, but a terrible link quality because something's like blasted out your packets and you've like lost a bunch of them. And similarly, you could be way out and like minus 100 and something and still have like 100 link quality because all the packets are getting through, just albeit at the end of what they can actually do. So using a combination of them to look at what's going on is quite handy. So it's like, I'm gonna try and be braver. It's my old crappy 7-inch. If it went down over the sea, I'd be more upset about losing one of my 4,000 milliamp hour successes rather than the quad itself. So it's no biggie.
Yep.
So it's quite a useful thing to test with.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because like I've never seen my link quality ever go down below like below the 90s. Like I've never seen it anything below the 90s other than maybe I don't know. Like I don't know if it's an ELR because you're using ELRS, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it matters whether it's one platform or the other, but yeah, I've only actually seen it maybe go around the 90s or 80s at worst. But it is kind of interesting to know how the DBM plays a role because I've only ever used link quality. So it's like, okay, if it says around 100 or 98, 97, I'm like, I know I'm good. So I've never had any worries about link quality, but yeah, it is weird that when you're looking at the DBM RSSI, it's like after a certain range, it's not actually getting worse, like you said. So it's
it's getting worse, but very, very slowly.
You can push it till link quality starts to go down. That's just like depending on the power setting. So if you're flying just at say 25 milliwatt, you go behind something, unless you're on like 900 megahertz, it's going to start going down. It's just a question of how low can the link quality go before you start to feel that you can't control the craft, really.
And it's surprising how well it will fly. Like, sorry, go ahead, Carl.
I was gonna say that what I kind of have picked up from people and what I've learned is that like for anything with like long range or like medium range or 7-inch ish type flying where you're kind of sending it out, like dynamic isn't exactly favorable in a way because like I mean maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I've heard people
dynamics just need to avoid excessive battery drain on the radio. That's the
exactly because for freestyle stuff like close range type of thing, I'll chuck it on dynamic and have like a maybe 100 milliwatt or something output power, and I don't think about it. But if it's like something that I'm gonna maybe send out, I'm gonna put it on a reasonably good power level and just leave it there. But you are right, it definitely does suck the battery of the radio.
Absolutely stomps on it, like especially my little T-Light. That thing should be able to do 250 milliwatt, but you put it on 250 milliwatt and it just starts bleating out battery warnings. So I put it on dynamic power. I'm like, if I'm flying behind something, I don't want this to like fall into a muddy puddle. Bump it to 250 milliwatt.
That's a big boy. Yeah, that was at a 6200 mAh. Yeah,
6200. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's the main reason that this is my main radio now. Is like, that's not gonna fade. So. Yeah, when I put it on manual, I put like, okay, let's not mess around. Let's put the radio on 1 watt. Let's put the VTX on 5 watts and see what happens.
Yeah. Then you have nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about other than whingy people on YouTube telling me how much I'm upsetting.
You're ruining a mobile phone signal.
You're ruining the hobby, Curry. You're ruining it.
I love that comment.
They said I was ruining mesh networks everywhere in the world. It's like other LoRa networks that happen to work over this that are ruined. I was like, oh well. If you're going to set your networks up in the middle of the field or over the sea, then that's your problem.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You just can't win, can you? You just can't win.
I think my favourite was, if you think that was illegal, you should have seen what your mum did last night.
I like it when if someone leaves a nasty comment before I get to reply, other viewers decide to reply on my behalf and make it even funnier than I could. So that's
That's
well
the
done,
best.
Sam.
Yeah. No, it's like
I'm quite the fan of your comment section now. I kind of come for the comments first, and then the content.
Someone left a comment after your one. What Jack does
Challenging.
now, if he leaves a comment, he says, "I watched this," just to let me know that he's bravely watched a video. And then I think someone wrote under your one gold star or something. Or
Well
I
done.
think
Big
someone
boy.
wrote Disneyland as if I was like some sort of special needs, like I get to go on a day trip or something. I think that was my favourite.
Disneyland.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Charming.
No.
live in the comment section. But I
I'm glad
might,
they know the audience.
in theory, it should be dry tomorrow. So I might try the wing for the third attempt. What it was, when I got home, actually, when I was flying the quad, I was like, oh, this quad keeps falling backwards. And somehow, one of these screws had come slightly undone. And I had this little bit of wiggle here. So what would happen is this would drop down just like a millimeter. And so the quad would slightly go backwards. So what it was, that wing was complaining that this had dropped down. Basically, I'm like, I can't arm. You've got your finger on the stick. So all I need to do is tighten that up. And now the wing arms. So I ordered a new HDMI cable to try and fix that problem. So maybe I take the wing out, third attempt at flying it.
Mine's
work.
got erectile dysfunction. I don't know whether you can see that, but I raise it up, and as you can see, it slowly, like
his
my
performance
penis, goes down.
Well, that's the throttle. I mean, you
Anxiety.
can put a spring on it if you absolutely need to.
That's one of these screws for the tension on the throttle. I can't remember which one. I think maybe that one.
Yeah, there's a little screw on the back that literally presses a strip of metal against the gimbal.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the little thin thing to yep. I actually like having a bit of resistance on my throttle. I don't like it to just like flop about. I like to be more like, sometimes you want it to almost just sit in a spot where you could take your hand off and it's not going to just.
Oh yeah, for me it needs to sit in a spot, but be able to work it nice. It's a very sweet spot, the throttle thing.
Yeah.
It needs to sit where it wants it to, but it can't be too tight or too loose. It's the Goldilocks zone of throttles.
Totally. Yeah, I was dicking around with that for a while because there was a point in time where my throttle, like after maybe the first year and a half, 2 years of my radio, like it was getting a little loose. So I had to figure out how to like take my radio apart, go in, like tighten up whatever the tension thing on it was. And yeah, it's like, oh, you do it too far. And then now you get that like ratcheted feel. And then it's like, you take it off a little bit. Okay. Now it's too loose. Now it's too tight. You have to find that sweet spot.
That's it. Can I also complain? I've got another complaint to make. Where'd it go?
Fire away.
Hang on.
What have I done now?
What's Jack done?
I
Explain in excruciating detail.
I'm
exactly
complaining.
where we're wrong.
How long I have spent on this stupid quad. This quad, if you look at this big bundle of crap and wires there, this is the Runcam Wi-Fi link, which we've managed to stick in a quad. I think I put this together on Monday, and then it didn't work, like no picture. And I found 3 issues eventually with this thing. Like the first one was the cable that connected the Wi-Fi board to the camera board would sometimes have a dodgy connection. Not always, sometimes. So I cut that off and soldered it on. And then it's like, oh, that's weird. It's still not quite working. Why is that? And then I kind of figured out that it sounded like occasionally, like the fan would just flicker and like and go up again. And although this is supposed to work from 9 to 30 volts, I was running it from a 10 volt back on the board, which successfully runs like a walk snail system, was just not providing enough power for some reason. So then I had to wire that up directly off the 6S input, and that kind of fixed that thing. And then the other problem I had is you'll see at the back here, you've got the wires kind of sticking out. And I found that, hello, little wires, if I tuck them in, it seemed like the two boards, something on it was particularly sensitive to having the wires there. So if that was tucked in, also wouldn't work. So they're now out. And I
Wow.
started this on Monday. It's now Thursday, and it's now ready to fly. And I spent an awful lot of time being very annoyed and SSHing to it, saying, well, why is Wi-Fi broadcast not working? And why is it
It
detected
sounds
the
like you've got a
network
bird
card,
that's
it's
going to
not
work
working?
perfectly on the bench, but is going to absolutely guarantee to fail the instant you walk outside with it.
Yeah, the chance of it actually flying now is slim to none. But I haven't made myself a proper adapter to plug it into my goggles yet. I have to do that at some point.
Yeah, it sounds like,
Take
if
me off close
anything,
up
your wiring setup hasn't gotten cleaner, but it's gotten more complex. Like, the longer this project's gone on, instead of it being condensed, you've actually just attached more and more stuff to OpenIPC.
Yes. What I wanted to do is use the Emacs stuff, but I thought, oh well, I've got the Runcam thing. I can't really just ignore that and go onto the Emacs. I'll have to set this up in a quad first, and then that took a week. So that's kind of annoying. So that's a bit of a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's always the way,
Challenging.
though. Sometimes you just throw a quad together to test stuff, and you're in the situation you're in where the quad fails and lets you down and you can't test the new bit of equipment, or you throw any old shit together because you're bored and it doesn't work, or thought, you know what, let's see if these bits actually work that have been like sat around for months and have been used as a coaster and a doorstop, and you know the dogs
that's when
chewed
it'll
them,
work.
and yeah, and it's the best flying quad in the world, and you're just like, why do I bother? It goes two
Yeah.
ways. That's it.
Mm. Yeah,
I did speak to Mario either yesterday or today about the OSD thing using MSP, and he says that isn't a code base now. If we update it and then use Betaflight 451, then we can use that. And I said, I'm not going to do this on my Maiden because it's already probably not going to work. So let's see if it flies, and if that works, then I will update the board and see if we can make the MSP OSD work. Because at the moment, I won't have an OSD.
I saw it's got MSP VTX as well, so you can use like MSP to switch VTX channels. So you should be able to use like EdgeTX to change the VTX channels as well as the goggle menu.
That's quite nifty. Yeah, I saw they were looking at doing stuff so you could mess with camera settings as well there, and something about being able to like scan using some little button on a Radix.
They really need a backpack. An ESP32 backpack would be so much smaller than that box with all the buttons on, and it would just work. Because there's so many channels in that setup, aren't there? There's like 50 channels with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, there's a lot. And it's like the cards, most of the cards we use work on both 2.4 and 5.8, so you've got all the channels. So what channel would you like? This
Two
one.
bands, all the channels.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they had a like ESP backpack like ELRS does, put one of those in the goggles adapter, and put one. You know, you've already probably got one in your radio. Then you could just switch everything in unison. That would be lovely.
I still can't get my backpack to work on my rapid fire at all, and I don't know why. It's probably me, but yeah.
I mean, we're saying
Have
probably.
you followed the instructions in my very informative tutorial video?
Yeah, I think so.
Should work then.
What, a long time ago.
Yeah, I just swapped over the module in my Sky Zones, and that worked.
TBS Fusion have now released an update.
Yep.
For the backpack. So if you got a TBS Fusion and it's got all the new hardware in it, it now supports backpack.
They do like overlay and stuff in TBS Fusion now, don't they? They've gone to town and they do all sorts of like data overlay on the analog OSD on the goggles.
Yeah, I use the Fusion, and I have like the RSSI bar that sits on the top, which
the Rapid Fire does that as well, but it overlays battery and everything.
what's it called? It's not RSSI. It is the diversity, I guess.
Yeah. So the
Still
Rapid Fire
fine,
has that,
fine.
but Fusion was actually overlaying data from the goggles onto the module somehow.
Oh,
They had this thing where if you didn't have a flight controller, you could get some stats. I can't remember
that's
exactly what it
cool.
was, but there was some fancy stuff going on there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I actually haven't
Speaking
upgraded
of
my Fusion since I
Yeah.
got it, basically.
embarrassingly enough, last night I found out that I still had my goggles in legacy mode on the rapid fire. So I haven't been using rapid fire for quite some time.
Oh shit! No way.
So was it?
Shame.
I
No.
kept having to move mine out of rapid fire because if you've had the situation where rapid
Oh,
fire
wow,
throws a wobbly
wobbly.
when you've got the roll, like, oh my god, I can't deal with the fact that the landscape's going past me like this. It's like 10
Your eyes are
horrific
just like
seconds of where you can't determine anything, and then it goes beep and goes back. It's like, oh my god.
You know what?
Specifically asked for large rolling bars. That's the version of the world I wanted.
Well, that's the thing that it kind of bugs me about the rapid fire because so I've actually been having I had this right before I went away. There was this issue that I was having with my Fat Shark HDO goggles actually, and I ruled out everything on my quad. Actually, sorry, Jack and I ruled out everything on my quad.
Fucking at least give me that, man. At
Yeah.
least.
No, so
And after you put the fire out,
well, literally, we deconstructed my drone like 3 times. We separated camera VTX, we separated flight controller, ESC, like we met, like basically we just did everything. We took everything out of the picture, and I was still getting this issue in my goggles. I swapped modules in the goggles. I had multiple. I ended up I ended up getting another set of HDO goggles for really cheap off some guy on Marketplace, and which came with a rapid fire module. I ended up getting them for like, I think it was like less than $100 or something like that. It was insane, and it was like, basically, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna go away, I want to have some goggles that aren't giving me this weird thing. So yeah, we determined that there's some weird like electrical or some kind of noise thing with my HDOs because, like I said, we swapped the modules. We narrowed down it's not the quad. It's not showing up in the DVR, which is another weird thing. So it's actually just something happening internally on the goggles with the screens or whatever is going on with it. So the other goggles don't do it. None of the receiver modules do it. But back to what I was saying, I guess, about the rapid fire was, so the new goggles I got came with a rapid fire module, and I've never used that before. But all the beeping that happens is so annoying when you're flying, and you get all this beeping going on. And you're like, beeping usually doesn't mean a good thing in my mind, other than like the quad is arming or disarming. But then I'm like, oh no, it's just like selecting its best whatever. But yeah, no, that
you can disable the beeping, I think, in the menu.
Oh, can you?
He probably needs to update it, which he doesn't like doing.
Yeah, I'm anti-update. Yeah.
I mean that. Yeah, I'm on the opposite. I just obsessively update anything I get my hands on, and then deal with the massive amount of fallout that inevitably happens as a result of aggressively updating stuff.
Yeah.
Cole, would you like to have your little pony day?
Oh, what's my pony day?
I don't know whether you've got access to your messages, but I was updating my third AM32 ESC and
Facebook messages or
messages. We're Apple people. Come on, Carl.
Oh, messages. Okay. Yeah, but messages is Facebook, isn't it? Or is that Messenger?
Messenger.
Oh,
Messenger.
jeez.
Sorry to be like.
So wait, are you talking about the video that you sent me?
Yeah. So I'm updating it, and Cole's like, "Nah, you know,
Yeah,
like why
I'll pull it up.
bothering? You can't put BR Heli 32 back on there." I'm like, "Mate, BR Heli 2's fucking dead. Like, there's no upgrade path. AM32 is only going to get better, hopefully." And
Move on.
I might move to the Voltara at last. For some reason, ESC number 3 just wouldn't flash. Can anyone spot the problem?
There's a lot of solder down there, mate.
Yeah, there's a little solder bridge from a resistor to an empty pad. The reason why it
beside the
wasn't
minus.
flashing is because of me. Couldn't help
Yep.
myself. Couldn't help. Just I wanted to touch up those pads, and yeah,
Getting
so,
frisky with the pads. It's not good
Yeah.
luck.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, you can just see that blob sitting on the resistor, like the black resistor there. It's not very
So
happy.
Cole relished in the fact that he was right.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no. It has to be like. Well, what we learned, or what we should know now, is that most of the problems that happen in this hobby are generally our fault,
Jacks.
Yeah.
What?
or Jack's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, all Jack.
Like, the next T-shirt Frank releases, it just says "Blame Jack."
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a struggle. I mean, once you make these kind of
What, being
updates,
friends with me?
I do them a lot, but I do kind of take a deep breath when I do them because I know sometimes I'm going to be there for long haul. This is going to
Yeah.
be like a lot of sweating and swearing, and I'm just going to wish that I'd never fucking started whatever it was I'm doing. But
I've
sometimes you just
now
got to do it.
I've now taken to crossing my fingers before pressing the flash button. But,
yeah.
no.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
But you know what? Like, you get to internally look at yourself. You get to, internalize
Question your
either-
life choices.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then sometimes things work out and you're like, this is cool, man. This is exactly why I'm doing this stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes you enable that one cool feature that just makes your life so much easier. And
Yep.
yeah, it's lovely.
yeah. Like stick overlay for when your fucking Tyrannus doesn't work properly.
Mm.
That was my one free swear. Sorry, editor. Speaking of which,
Grounded. Dunce cap.
remind me at the end of the show there was a email about Patreon.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, at the end,
Has
I will
anyone seen
mention it.
orders for the latest Tony Dunn Gatwick?
Yeah, have you successfully
Should
sold
mention that
anything,
again.
Frank?
There was at least one order, but I suspect that was you, Steve.
Why? Yeah.
I'm thinking of
Well, we
sales and
encourage
sale.
our audience to, buy stupid Christmas gifts, obviously.
Clive,
And where can we
what-
find these stupid Christmas gifts, everyone?
Let'sDroneOut.com. There's a shop.
There's a link from letsdroneout.com. You can find all manner of Christmas gifts suitable for the whole family,
And
and
if you
several
don't,
that aren't.
if you like the logo but don't like the product that it's on, you can go to the listing and there's a customize button at the top, and you can pick out of like hundreds of different t-shirts and hoodies and dog bandanas and
Individual socks.
individual socks, or anything you
Nice.
can imagine. There will probably be something in some gaudy color.
Fantastic.
I know. I might, depending on how this month goes, pick up a Tony Dunn Gatwick mug. I don't know. Clive, what ESC do I need to? What am I doing to that ESC? I can't remember. It's so long ago. I've completely forgotten. It's like half conversation. I'm like totally forgotten. Cool. You've been doing incredible things. I don't know how much you're willing to talk about it, but I hope you enjoyed that 49 gram mini alien.
Yeah, dude.
Apex I sent you.
That
with
was a very sweet drone. Thanks for sending me that, dude, with the naked GoPro.
yeah,
Amazing, man.
Shame you've lost it.
Yeah, I am sorry about that.
That's okay.
I did plan on getting it back to you at least in partial pieces, but yeah, she gone. But yeah, no, dude, I took a little trip and I did a little flying, and I had a lot of fun actually. Let me see if I can pull up a little something. Let's see.
I didn't hear about the lost stuff. I was looking at the videos you were sending in our group chat. I didn't know something went missing.
Yeah, it was a very unfortunate mishap, believe it or not. But
You
let me
did
see.
find an SD card that you will see footage. I know who
Yeah.
it belongs to.
Wait,
That's
I've yet to find
right.
out the owner of this SD card, but it makes
Yeah.
for interesting viewing.
Let's see. Let's see what I can present.
We'd be
here.
suspicious
If
if
you-
it flashes up Koala FPV on this unknown SD.
If you do
Yeah,
happen to
It's just the color
recognise it,
treatment.
please email I'm not the FAA at letsdroneout@gmail.com.
Okay, how do I share? Here we go. Yeah,
We'll
so
get right back to you.
you can see this, right?
Looks a lot like Canada.
Yep. Very Canadian here. Yeah.
I think it's international waters.
Yeah. It's all the hallmarks of international waters, what with the mountains.
Yeah.
How far out do you have to be in international waters? Is it like 6 miles or something?
It's like 14 or
I
something.
thought it was
Is
12.
it 14?
I don't know.
12?
I had 12 in my head as well, but I don't know why.
Huh. Well, this was definitely within visual line of sight over water, so I'm
Mhm.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this was just a little
I mean, you're flying back to yourself, clearly.
yeah.
I see you right there.
I'm at the top. I went for a nice hike and I decided to, go up and down and all around. But
Nice
Yeah,
and
this was-
smooth.
very smooth. Thank you, GoPro. Naked GoPro.
You got a naked one, have you?
Yeah,
It
well,
won't
I did.
anymore.
Luckily, I was smart and I backed some things up before, after each flight, actually.
Where did it disappear then?
It actually went into the pits of hell, mainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My butthole.
Yeah. So,
Boo.
but yeah, so I did get to do a bit of flying. I got to do a bit of fun, but I'll have some more videos and stuff coming out over the next while, and it's gonna be pretty sweet. Can't wait to show you guys.
Nice. So did you lose it as a result of loss of signal? Is it anything that GPS would have helped with?
No, it was just honestly me being stupid. It was like, well, not being stupid, but flying analog video and not seeing a branch. Yeah.
Oopsie. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the worst. That's the worst.
Yeah. So one quad down so far in this this journey of mine. And
That's not too bad.
yeah, I'll take it.
Well, you live and learn.
Yeah, and the number one rule I have learned is if you're gonna send out a drone and you don't have GPS rescue set up, back it up every time it gets home.
Mhm.
Back up the footage every time it gets back to you.
100%.
Yeah. So yeah.
It got to a point where I was friends with Tony that I stock unused SD cards and would just throw them at him like whenever he requested stuff.
It's like fly a pack, new SD card. Fly a pack,
Yeah.
new SD card.
Yeah.
Well, that
That's
was the
like
one
used to
annoying
that.
thing when I was in Taiwan, actually. It was like I would send it out and then, okay, I'd come back in and I only had 2 batteries. So, like, basically, I'd okay, that battery's done, leave it for a little bit, chuck it back on the charger. But after every flight, make sure I have my laptop with the hard drive. Okay, plug in the SD card, do the backup, take the SD card back out, put it back in the GoPro. Okay, now I can go fly again and rinse and repeat every time. But
There must be some sort of like Linux Pi distro where you've got like a Linux Pi and you just plug in an SD card
And it just syncs all the crap off you.
Yeah.
it just takes
and
it.
then-
Yeah.
You could do that with a UDEV rule. You have a UDEV rule, like whenever it sees a device attached, it triggers a sync operation.
That's
Should we
cool.
make that product, Stephen? Have
I
you
would
got it
love
in
that,
you?
man.
The Wii is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, Jack. What can happen is I can point you to some wiki articles, and you can make that product. It can be.
Well, at least Jack does have some genuine professional experience getting
he's
the
got
products
the
made.
soldering expertise. But yeah, okay.
Well, more
Okay,
than that.
we'll make that product, Jack. Sorry, I'm on a down day. I'm sorry, full of negative.
After everything I put you through, you can just tell like Jack, fuck off. I was surprised you showed up and just didn't go. You're a dick.
It's been challenging.
Oh,
We're
sorry.
getting there.
FX Node says, "Is there not Wi-Fi on the GoPro?" I mean, there.
Yeah, we don't talk about
It's-
that.
It is
Well, there
dog shit,
was.
though, isn't it? I mean, there's Wi-Fi on a
cut off.
GoPro, but it's jank, and it's just so much quicker to plug the thing in.
Yeah, I've just trying to load and play back from a GoPro is like you're basically punching yourself in the face because you're like, okay, the thing's going.
The Wi-Fi is there to like act as a half-baked viewfinder, and that's about what it's good for.
Yeah, with like data moshing every like few frames.
That's the one thing I used to hate on holiday. It's like if I don't take a laptop with me, so I have to sync the Insta or my GoPro to my phone, and you just literally sat there for an hour waiting for footage to come over to play it and go, no, I don't want that. That's crap.
Yeah.
And then like next one, wait another hour. See what happens.
As much as wireless is awesome for convenience, if you just want to get jobs done, cables every time.
Oh yeah, plug it in straight to the mainline. That shit, dude.
But yeah, you could have a Pi that's powered from like a LiPo or a couple of 18650s through like a BEC, and the Pi has its own maybe like a SATA drive connected via USB, and it runs like rsync or something, so it can tell if files have changed, and it just copies the changed files off your GoPro each time and just acts like a big dumping ground. That would work.
How physically big would one of those be?
Pi Zero Ws are pretty small. They're like about 8 centimeters by 2 centimeters, that sort of size.
Pretty small. Did I dream this? Did at some point you have a Wi-Fi SD card? Maybe it was a full-size SD card.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
when
you
you
can
took pictures, it could upload them automatically for you or something.
Yeah, they exist. They're like
I've
way
heard of them,
overpriced for what they are, which is a really crap computer jammed inside a large SD card. The reason you don't get them in micro SD cards is you're basically buying like a micro SD card with something that's like the chip they put in your ELRS module, like one of those really tiny chips that's got a token Wi-Fi ability, and that's jammed inside the big SD card housing. It syncs your photos. They charge through the roof for those things, and they're kind of terrible.
And they don't last very long, is my understanding. Turns out thermal issues happen quite a lot when you're on an SD card in the middle of a camera or some other device that is already quite hot.
Yeah.
That's the big downside with micro SDs in general, man. I've had to put fans on them, and they still just get slower, and then they stop transferring data, even with a fan on them.
Yeah, that's why you have to take up the whole SanDisk 10-year warranty. But it means keeping the receipts and the little number that's etched into them.
I was grateful for Failsafe's ingenuity when he built the little Voron that's sitting over my shoulder there, and instead of using a micro SD, he put like a USB hard drive on there, which is just a decision I am very happy he did.
Is that the 3D printer?
Yeah. 3D printer.
Oh, Props Off is saying to Curry Kitten there, thanks for the rapid fire Speedy B comparison video.
You're more than welcome.
Nice.
Oh, that's not.
Oh, he didn't mute himself for the sneeze.
Sorry.
He muted himself mid words.
Turns you
I stopped the camera.
Oh, you saw the camera, not the mic. We still heard you sneezing.
Sorry.
Wow, dude, you should be so embarrassed. You have a bodily function, dude.
And now we've made a conversation about it, so it can't be edited out either. So that's
Jack's overloaded with bodily functions. That's the problem.
I was last night.
Aren't we all?
I hovered this 6S quad in my room after doing a bit
When
of
you say
updating.
6S, do you mean 6 normal S, or were they in fact 6 vape cells?
They were 4 vape cells, but in
3P
into
or 3S, 3S 4P.
with that
Wow.
tiny wire, and it hovered.
How long for?
Not long
Until it
but
caught fire.
worked. It yeah. This yeah. I mean, it worked. It's possible.
Kudos,
Frank.
mate. Well done.
There's wing stickers for you here.
Nice.
They are the last ones, unless you want me to get more made.
So, what's next for the vape cell quad? Are you able to continue, or have you sweated enough adrenaline sweat flying that in your room already?
I've been using it with a battery-operated soldering iron randomly, and I've also been using it to power the Fat Sharks. Hence, why I discovered it has.
Oh, if it's 3S, yeah, then
yeah, they run. Well, believe it or not, I repaired that. You know that cable thing that you had, Frank? Who made it?
I don't believe it.
Furious
Furious
FPV,
smart
innit?
cable, yeah.
Yeah, I changed the end of that, so I use it with that, and then I was trying to get the backpack to work. It looks like it's bound because it's a solid blue LED, but I can't. It just doesn't work, and I don't know why.
Does it appear on the web interface?
No. About that, my Wi-Fi hub's changed, so I need to tell it the new Wi-Fi hub.
It'll just come up with its own Wi-Fi AP. If it can't find anything, it'll be called like Express LRS.
It just doesn't seem to do that.
And it's not
I
working.
don't know. I need you or Curry or someone who's not me to look at that, because I just don't understand.
Oh well, looks like we're stuck then.
Yeah. What was it, right?
I wasn't listening for the first bit. What do I have to do? Something
That's okay,
about
I
a
wasn't
Wi-Fi
listening to the
password.
second bit. I'll put it together.
Yeah. The ELRS backpack in my rapid fire.
He hasn't actually flashed it, by the sound of it.
I
He's
have.
flashed something to
I
it, but not the thing that actually puts up a Wi-Fi access point. QED ain't working.
I just don't understand the Lua script. I
tried
don't
hitting it.
understand. There's no. What it is I've been so conditioned to devices that beep at me that just having a single LED is just not enough for me to communicate with that device.
Have you tried
It went
beeping
in
at
face.
it? Maybe just initiate two-way communication.
I'm just there barking at it.
Beep,
like,
beep,
yeah.
Did you try the Rocky Balboa?
What, running up some stairs?
Too far from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, what did you flash it with? Did you flash it with the right stuff? I'm saying vague things now because I can't remember how I did the backpack, and I'm not using the backpack anymore, so I've taken it out.
Jack's like, well, I got out.
But I did do it at one point, and I made a video about it, so I must be an expert.
Oh yeah,
I might plug it in. I might
forgot one of those
just plug it in
backpacks
Wait.
now.
somewhere. hidden.
Because I'm completely ignorant, what is this term you mean by backpack? Do you mean like a module?
It's like an
Oh.
Express LRS module, except it's purely to make your goggles change channel. So you have one in your radio, and you have one in the quad, and those allow the HTX radio to change the channel on the quad, right? Well, what they did was make this into some like whole ecosystem thing, like the TBS Fusion something, but just completely, any radio, any goggles. So you can take an existing module, TBS Fusion and Rapid Fire, and the Sky Zone ones as well, and chuck in one of these little, I think they're about £4, $5 Express LRS backpacks, which is the Wi-Fi chip, but it doesn't have the LoRa chipset. It just does the near range Wi-Fi, and it means that when you take your HTX radio and you change channel on that in the Lua script, and it sends it to the quad, your radio is also forming a network with your goggles, and the goggles change channel in unison with the quad.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's right, because TBS Fusion module and Crossfire have that, have that capability. And is that
Yeah.
what I'm talking about? Is like
That's the
my
one, yeah.
V3X
It's
or
the-
something?
Yeah, it's the same ecosystem that TBS Fusion does, but just for
Yeah.
all ELRS stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I never used that really. But I guess it can be handy.
And as PropSoft say here, that the module can also do other stuff, because once you've shoved something in your goggles that's talking to your radio, it can be used for interesting things. So the backpack with a gyro attached to it can also perform head tracking duties and speak to the radio.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
There's
pretty
some
cool.
how-tos on there to like take like an MPU 6000 or some other gyro and just solder that up to the backpack.
Yeah, no doubt. Actually,
No, I'm not going to do that.
But getting the thing flashed is a pain in the butt. And if you haven't got it flashed already, it's like, break out those FTDI adapters and then dig out whichever arcane software your operating system requires to use an FTDI adapter and do it from that, which is just, it is the painful way of dealing with Express LRS. It's like, stuff's gone south, right, get the FTDI adapter out and actually speak direct to the MCU, much like Jack is doing with his flashing of AM32. What you got there?
You gonna do it from your radio jack?
Just
It's
a
got-
solid blue light. That's it. And my radio isn't even on. So that is
yeah, you should
not working.
take that guy out, flash it via FTDI, get the firmware on there, and make sure you can get to the Wi-Fi access point. That's operation number one.
Okay.
It
Does
might
it
be
not
something
just
good mode.
create its own access point like a normal thing after
What
a
it
minute?
should do- Yeah, that's why I'm thinking it isn't flashed or it's not booting correctly.
Oh, you flashed it with the wrong shit, and
Yeah, I think
I'll
I
do it.
flashed it wrong shit.
There's a chance.
Yeah. So I think
yeah, I do remember doing it and having to ask a lot of questions of the Express LRS Discord, but it was fairly new at that point. I'm hoping it should be.
There's
little
so
bit more
many helpful
documented
people out there. You'll end up with an essay on how to do it as soon as you ask.
I might go there and just be like, who wants to shove their hand up my arse and work me like a muppet?
Also, who wants to fix the backpack?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
This is the
Separate
internet. You have to
question.
be specific.
Unfortunately, that's Jack's first question to all Discord groups, which is why he doesn't stay in there for very long.
Yeah, I know.
It's on a wanted list.
Banned from 97. I'm going for the 100 before Christmas.
Yeah, part of the reason I didn't use the backpack in the end is it was fighting with if it was set up via, if I did something via smart audio, and then the backpack would be like, hang on a sec, I'm doing it, and the radio would then change it back to what it wanted and do the goggles the same way. It's like, oh, I think actually I do my things through like smart audio and do it that way rather than do it through the radio. Also,
kind of need to
all
decide
my
what
quads are
your
set to
truth is.
R1 at all times unless I have
Yeah.
to change it and I'm flying with like other people, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I don't even know the last time I changed my channel. I'm like, I mean, smart audio is great to have, but and this backpack thing is obviously great to have if you're in certain scenarios, but mine's like a set it and forget it type of scenario.
I don't know whether to go back to Ghost, but you can't get the receivers. So I think I know the answer to that.
Yeah, so there's definitely some integration with racing. PropSoft mentions it here, and I thought that they were using this stuff to also control, which pilots are taking part in a specific heat and make sure that their channel assignment was sane. I'm trying to remember exactly how the integration goes, but I thought there were a few out there where backpacks were able to participate in race direction. Maybe I'm pulling this out my bum, but I seem to remember it being talked about an awful lot. I just don't do racing. Anyone
Yeah.
heard anything about that?
No, it's like what you're saying is like there's a vague like that seems to ring true, but I can't think of the specifics about it. So either we're all just sort of dreaming it and thinking, oh, that'd be quite useful, or we have actually heard of something about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we have.
I remember more about like Tramp being in the sort of and the magic wand, that being a race director's thing to like, I'm going to set you to 25 milliwatts on this channel, and you could just touch your quad without it being powered up. And it
I
would
found-
Had a high price premium, didn't it?
I found my wand, and hilariously, I had written the word Hitachi on the end of it.
So it was a
Never would've
massager
seen
then.
that coming.
Mm. Yeah,
I still have a
would
sealed Tramp actually.
I think I do.
hoarding
I know.
hardware.
And I still need to borrow Jack's magical wand, which can break my
His
quad,
Hitachi?
which is No.
Sorry.
let's go to reaction from Frank.
Sorry, I
Sorry,
spoke
you have to
over.
borrow Jack's
Frank.
non-Hitachi one.
Yes,
Yes,
but
Special one.
mate, I've built a whole tricopter in the hope of being able to see you one day.
see me one day
Can I?
somewhere over
Can
the
I
rainbow.
come over and play at some point
Somewhere.
Yeah,
with my laptop?
It's-
Okay.
the only problem we've got now is weather days, which are a bit harder to come by.
Yeah.
Mate, I am more than happy just to eat chicken with you and
Sounds
rub
that
my
sounds good.
Hitachi wand on your out-of-date hardware, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's obviously what we'd be doing most of the time.
Oh, what's Jack doing? Uh-oh.
Got to find his wand.
Oh, it's very faded, but see,
There it is.
Hitachi. It's rubbed off, but it was there. It did make me laugh.
So many innuendos that could be made on that.
I don't know where the back battery door is, but it works. You just have to hold the battery in and press the button all at the same time.
I'm looking forward to seeing what title this podcast ends up having on the feed.
And it's just going to be called episode 476.
Hitachi.
Some of the recent titles, I think he's been doing a very good job of coming up with names for.
Are we allowed to name said editor? Sorry.
Well, I have now.
He's
so.
a shadowy
Yeah, you
figure.
have now. Oh, shit, everyone knows the name.
The last one was CatCam equals Jacknip.
I love that.
Nice.
You nailed it.
I was meowing at said cat last night, and it came over and sniffed the camera and battered it. The footage is in the Discord if you want to watch it. And all I got back from Frank was, "I think we've been discovered." I'm loving it, man. I tell you what, it properly pisses on my chips if it's several birds in a row for a cat.
I have noticed, interestingly, this is an experiment featuring my dog and cat. The cat will react to somebody on a screen, and the dog was just like, doesn't know anything about it. Why are you holding that phone to my head? I don't know what you're doing. So cats have more of a chance of talking back to Jack or batting him.
No, that does. Frank's got several minutes of footage of me enjoying said cat. Oh,
I was going to show my cats, but they're both passed out on either side of me. But
Mine's just
I was going to talk about flying for next week and what's the forecast, but of course we've all had winds of up to 16,000 miles per hour today, haven't we?
Yeah.
So perhaps it's not to be trusted.
As Clive points out, some people have been forecast overnight lows of 400 degrees. So yeah,
Argy.
get your sunscreen out.
Factor 1 million.
weather
Yeah,
doesn't look too bad.
The weather
but-
looks pretty good for the weekend. Yeah, relatively.
I think Tony's hoping to come see me.
Hmm.
If any of you want to come down,
I need to work out what flies currently.
there's a battery here for you to fly.
I know,
Well
but
done,
I
Andy
need to
RC.
find something to put it in, don't I?
Tom's eyeing it up as well. He's very intrigued.
You've got to fly that pack so hard it just catches fire.
I know Cole's disappeared. I think he's got wireless headphones, but
I do.
TSA scanned your batteries. I wonder what they'd make of the one that I made. I reckon they'd just
Yeah.
like pull their guns
Straight to
out and
jail.
just point them at me.
Straight to jail.
Well, see, I was really interested when I was going through security, like, and you put your stuff on the little trolley, like whatever, the little, I don't know what the heck you call it, but like,
Trace.
so through on the trays, you walk
Right
through
out.
the little whatever, and then there's a guy sitting at the computer, like inspecting the things that are going through the conveyor belt, and I'm like, I want to see what he sees when my bag goes through. So like, I can see his screen, like I've gone through and I'm looking at it, and he's like, I think he's like adjusting like the whatever the weird color contrast stuff that happens, and like all of a sudden I just see like chunk, and I'm
Just
like,
flashes out. Break out the probe, guys.
well, no, dude, I literally took like three flights in the last 2 weeks. Nothing. And like when I looked at the guy's screen while I was going through, and you just see chunk. I'm like, oh no, like what's he gonna make of this? But I don't think that batteries are really a red flag unless you have like huge ones or a million of them. So
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
a known quantity, aren't they? Just everything has batteries now, so
exactly, yeah.
they're just boring.
And speaking of batteries, I got a new battery I want to test out, which is, I don't know, is this backwards for everyone?
No.
Nope.
No, just you.
So it's the as Chris Rosser would say, gold line. But I say O line, but it makes sense that it would be
Ooh.
gold line. It's a 3,000 milliamp hour Sony VTC6 cells up
Nice.
to 30 amp constant. You just see them there, and it's pretty small actually. So I'm curious to try this one out and see how much flight time I can get with just cruising. Because if I could get, I mean, what I'm thinking is with a 1350 battery on a regular 5-inch quad, if I'm just cruising and it's a good battery, like a newer battery, I can get like 6 minutes of flight time. So in theory, I should be able to, as long as I'm not like, I looked at my DVR too. When I'm cruising, I'm never pulling more than like maybe 10 amps, maybe 12 amps or something like that. So I'll never at a cruising speeds, I'll never pull 30 amps. With a 3,000 or 3 amp hour battery, I should be able to get at least, I don't know, 15 minutes, I think. Maybe. Is that seem feasible or?
Yeah. Yeah, you can
Right,
run those
like-
down to like 2.5 volts as well. So
And you're right.
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah,
do
because
it.
I'm curious to see how these lithium ions work, because I've only ever used on my 7-inch. I've used lithium ions, but I've never used it on a 5-inch for cruising. But 5-inch is totally capable. I want to experiment a bit, so I bought
Yeah.
one.
It's not the most efficient platform, but it will work just
No.
fine. And if you manage the throttle, no problem.
Yeah. And the other thing too is I ended up getting a GPS just came in. It's the Foxeer, was it M10Q250 or something? It's like the bigger sized one. Which-
yeah.
I kind of wish I got the smaller one, but I don't know. I've never
Well,
used
Be
the
happy that the
M10.
big ones get a fix much quicker. Those little small ones, they look neat, but they take an absolute age to get a fix.
Well, and so my only problem now is I need, like, I had a 3D print for a GPS that was for a BN220. I didn't check the dimensions or anything, and I was hoping maybe I could just like shove it on the back of that one or tape it on or something. But the new one I got is too big for this 3D print, so I'm gonna need to find somebody or find some kind of design or an STL that I can either get
One of
someone
these
to
days,
remix.
You need to buy a 3D printer, mate. Like it's suddenly
Ugh.
everything is that much easier.
Yeah, but I don't really like. I could maybe find the space for it, but like I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of room, I guess, and also
You're
No,
sitting,
yeah.
all of us are sitting, and a wall is like next to us, and you've got this massive expanse behind you saying, "I
They're
don't
not
have
big,
any
mate.
room."
well,
That's a 3D printer right there.
this is only like a couple of feet behind me, and it's a closet. That's a bathroom. I mean, next thing I know,
Put it
my
in the
cats are gonna
bathroom.
like jump
I
on
I feel
it.
you
and
the
could
one
then
that
put a
Caroline
table
was
against the
reviewing a
wall
couple
that's
of
on the
days
right
ago.
of you.
So Caroline reviewed something that wasn't only small; it was incredibly cheap. It was like had a build volume of like 10 centimeters wide, but that's enough to do a GoPro mount. It's enough to do skids. It's enough to do GPS.
yeah, I don't need anything big. Yeah,
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
like just over 100 quid, like on Amazon. So you could just next day it.
And I
Yeah.
reviewed one
Yeah.
called the Wii Fun, which is about an A4 size printer, which seemed to work very well.
yeah. And then I got to go
No,
down the
you-
rabbit hole of getting it to work well and tuning it and making.
No, just no tuning. It auto levels. You shove
Yeah.
some
Shit.
Just
filament
get
in it,
something
and you
small
say,
that does
Yeah.
TPU, and don't put anything but TPU. Just keep TPU in there the whole time and calibrate it
Yeah.
with that.
There's your solution.
Oh, just wall mount it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what? It's just me being like,
Cre-
oh, I don't
Yeah.
understand this. I don't want to do something new that's out of my comfort zone. And
Yeah.
I'm.
yeah. I
lady,
sympathise
honestly.
entirely. I resisted for ages, but then after I bought like I think the 15th bit from like Banggood, that was some 3D printed part. I just thought, oh f this, and gave it a go.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everything it's not free, but it's virtually free. You know, you get so many
Yeah.
prints out of a kilo.
Yeah.
TPU.
Stephen is right. You know, it wasn't till someone Gav gave me a Turnigy like fabricator, which does a 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter like print base, and I just got into it, and printers have moved on so much right now. Like, you know, the Bamboo Lab A1 Carbon and stuff like that, like it literally prints itself. It would be harder to get it to harder to get it to give you a shit print than to
Yeah,
get
mean,
it
you
to-
can always buy the bamboo stuff. That seems to be the guaranteed way of getting good
Yeah.
results, but you will pay.
Well,
for it.
I just looked it up actually, and Bamboo Lab A1 Mini 3D printer on sale normally $389 Canadian, on sale for $250. That's
yeah.
that's definitely doable because we spend $250 on say some batteries and some motors without question. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
And if you're going to carry on buying 3D prints remotely and paying $10 in shipping every now and then, it does
Yeah.
add up.
I would.
I mean,
if
yeah,
if you can get one of those to give you a shit print, you're a fucking smart
I'm a
man
sh-
than I am. Yeah, buy lottery
Yeah.
tickets, spend $250 more dollars on lottery tickets.
Didn't both Curry and ERC have one of the bamboo ones for a while?
I think everyone just
no, we
swears
both
by
had
Bamboo
one
now.
of the Creality ones. We got the same one of those.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
got some bamboo.
Yeah, and with Clipper
Yeah.
now with wireless transfer, it prints faster, and you haven't got like rummaging for SD cards and shit like
Yeah.
that, and auto level. You've got not only auto level where it just like goes to each corner and you adjust your level, it also does a bed mesh. So
So if there's a bump on the bed, it'll like work around it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
then you can just look on Thingiverse and be like, oh, which exact GoPro mount do I want? And
Yeah.
and then maybe tweak it a little bit. Be like, oh, I'd like it a bit of a tighter fit. Or I'll scale it down to be like 98% of the original size and make it nice and tight.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to like the thing is I have a ton of 3D prints right now like for GoPro mounts and basically anything I could think of that I would need. So part of me is like, oh, am I going to spend $250 plus shipping to get this A1 for me to make a GPS mount, or do I pay someone $5-10 to do it?
True. Well, I don't
But-
know. It's like also it's something to do over winter if you're bored, I suppose. It just depends what you like to do, whether it's break out the decks or a guitar or a book, or whether you like to
Yeah.
tinker with gadgets.
If you have
Totally.
a friendly local person who has a working 3D printer, that seems to be the best solution.
And they could deal with the
That's what I
maintenance. and
have,
you
yeah.
could just yeah.
Exactly.
They can
They
deal with
can-
the yeah,
I'm Frank's bloody 3D printer.
Yeah.
which actually
Well, Frank had
technically
everything
Jack
stashed in
is
there.
mine as well.
Yeah, I know. I get demanding texts of like, how's it doing now? And then I have to like send like video updates and stuff. It is like I'm pet sitting for him. But it's
Have a little
You-
webcam in
you
front
use
of the
my
3D
3D
printer.
print.
You can
I'm
see
like,
the cats
how
in his
stringy is
neighborhood,
it?
but he's got to see the prints.
he was the organ grinder of 3D printing. He was the man for 3D printing. Now he's getting the monkey to 3D print for him.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for.
Boo.
A little notification. If you do support us, like these lovely people down scrolling below, like Stuart Thorne, David Powell, Wes, Aries, you know,
And a
you know
support
all
like
those.
that can make you up to
Clive.
50% more intelligent and attractive.
Yeah.
It's a known
Um,
fact.
If you use the Apple app for Patreon,
Don't.
as of November 1st, they're adding it to their app subscription service, so they will be charging you 30% more, and then with fees and everything else,
Break out a web browser, right?
Yeah,
Just
it works
break out
out
a web
roughly
browser and
40.
don't use the app.
40%. So delete that app, stop that, and then go use a web browser, create a Patreon account, or log back in, and then subscribe that way. Don't use.
Otherwise,
the
you're just
Apple
giving
app.
money to Apple, and we don't get anything from Apple. We're not sitting here on piles of iPads for chairs or anything. Like, we don't see
Yeah.
any of that money. It just goes to Apple for the
You're
ability
not?
to run the app.
No. Until Frank is snorting cocaine off an iPad instead of a mirror, like in some sort of retro 80s futuristic thing. Please do not use the Apple app. Please use a web-based or normal app.
Especially
you.
if all things for Patreon, it just doesn't make sense because the people on Patreon get nothing from Apple for that 30% cut whatsoever.
No worries. Thank you for tuning in. We're live every Thursday. You've been listening to Let's Drone Out. You've been joined by everyone's favourite Cory Kitten,
Goodbye.
the Lord and Master Andrew / Frank, who hopefully has got another edit for us.
No, sorry.
The man with the moustache, Stephen,
All right. Cheers. Have a good week, everyone.
and my buddy Cole.
See ya.
I've been your host of Bright Top Fly. Thank you and good night.
Bye.